Kenom pushed the door open with such force that it knocked down the pollutant who was behind it. Kenom gave him a stern look, and the pollutant rushed off. There were about 20 plutons huddled on their knees up towards the front of the dome. They were obviously frightened. They were being comforted by a Pluton priest who was assigned to the dome. Kenom walked up to him and said, "It's all right, there's no need to be frightened. Someone just threw a small electro-blaster cap at your door. There's no real damage." The Pluton priest reassured the flock and came over to Kenom. "How do you do, patrolman?" He hesitated, waiting for Kenom to give him his name. "Patrolman Kenom," said Kenom. "I have been asked to investigate this incident." "Ah yes, Patrolman Kenom," he said. "My name is Leader Scott. I am the priest leader at this dome. Won't you have a seat?" "Thank you," said Kenom. "I just wanted to see if everyone was all right in here before I checked the damage. I haven't determined if it was a blaster cap for sure, but it was just my guess. I will return later when I have more information." "Very well," said Leader Scott. "I'll be here." Kenom was rather surprised at how calm Leader Scott was. Kenom went out and started to inspect the door. Enew came up with a patrolman. "This is Patrolman Skinlin," said Enew. He was walking near the dome when the blast went off. "How do you do, Patrolman?" said Kenom. "Tell me what you saw." "Well," said Patrolman Skinlin, "I was walking over to my duty station when I heard this blast right behind me. I thought it was a Fignon attack. I've never heard anything like that before, and I've been here for 2 war seasons. I looked around and saw the smoke, so I headed for the south tunnel as fast as I could." "I see," said Kenom. "What else?" "Well," continued Patrolman Skinlin, "that's about it. I don't remember much else, except all the panic." "All right, Patrolman, thank you. We may need to talk to you again. And by the way," Kenom said, as a parting shot, "next time something like this happens, keep your head and go directly to your duty station. You wouldn't have been much help out in the tunnel if this indeed had been a Fignon attack. Your place is at your duty station." "Yes, sir," replied Patrolman Skinlin. Kenom and Enew inspected the door further. "It was an electro-blasting cap, all right," said Kenom. "See the small bits of gray powder mixed with the black soot that can only come from a blaster cap." "I agree," said Enew. "It must have been thrown from a short distance, too, because those things go off rather quickly once they are armed." "You're right," said Kenom. "Whoever threw that could not have been more than 30 feet away." "But this is odd," said Kenom. "See how the main blast marks are high up from the floor?" "Yes," replied Enew. "It must have been in a flight when it went off." "Yes, but also notice that the blast marks are spread evenly. If it had been coming towards the door, the blast marks would have made a much larger pattern because of the force of the throw." I see," said Enew. "But then where—" Kenom looked up. Above the dome was the ceiling for level 2. It was a good 10 feet above the Religidome, and there was a number of catwalks crisscrossing the ceiling. These were used by repairmen so that they could get to the lights and the wiring. "Must have been dropped from up there," said Enew. "That's my hunch too," said Kenom. "But who?" "That's what we have to find out, my friend," interrupted Kenom. Kenom decided to talk further with Priest Leader Scott. He asked Enew to round up all the Flextons stationed on level 1 and find out if they knew anything, and get their names. Kenom had no trouble getting into the Religidome this time. All he had to do was knock once. Having priority duty papers had its usefulness, he thought, when one wanted to get something done. Priest Leader Scott greeted him warmly, and they sat down to talk. "Tell me, Leader Scott," said Kenom, "do you know of anyone who might like to frighten you?" "No one specific," he said, "but we God-Force believers are not well liked among the Flexton population here on Oak. They are God believers, you know, and they object to our being here. We hope to change that. The Central Inclusion Department tells us the Flextons are on the list for Galaxy Inclusion. We hope to make them all God-Force believers, God-Force followers, so the transition will be smooth. These things take time, however. Organics don't give up their belief system easily." "I understand," said Kenom. Leader Scott continued. "For the most part, we stay to ourselves in our religiodomes. We use our other dome for broadcast stations where we run religio channels and universal vision. We seldom have any personal contact with Flextons unless they come to our dome for repair work. I see, said Kenom. My duty partner Enew is questioning the Flextons now. Maybe he could turn up something. We Plutons would rather not make a big deal out of this, said Leader Scott. We don't want to lose our foothold here on Ob. You understand? Yes, I do, said Kenom, but I'm afraid we cannot let this pass without a response. We must get to the bottom of this, because Zimmnel Command cannot have this sort of disruption in the compound. Of course, I understand, said Leader Scott. We will cooperate fully. Thank you, said Kenom, and he bid the priest leader goodbye.